Hey everybody, Ben for the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Blood Bowl Team Guides Amazons. This is our series where we go through each team in Blood Bowl, look at all the positionals, look at the special rules, look at the reroll cost, look at the star player access, and really just bring together what a team does in Blood Bowl. It is not a standalone video. We will have star player spotlights for every star player available. We'll have league rosters, tournament rosters, 7 rosters videos, as well as your dream team videos in the long run. But for now, if you are thinking about playing Amazons in 2020 with the new rules, or you're likely to play against them, then this video is a great place to start. Okay, so Amazons in Blood Bowl have a bit of a reputation for being dodge heavy and hard to bring down. That has not changed in this edition, which is great news for all Amazon players, and it gives a very unique playstyle. So Amazons, every player on their roster has the dodge skill. Now, if you've played Blood Bowl even a little bit, you'll be aware that dodge not only helps you re-roll a dice when you want to dodge away, but if you're being punched and they roll the star with the exclamation point, you're gonna be okay. So Amazons, they're not massively strong. They're stronger than they used to be, but they have got this innate ability to take that little reroll to get away from you and just be slippery. It's hard to bring down an Amazon player when you are attacking them, which is, you know, good because they've got basically no armor. So the difficult thing about the Amazons is that they are just Lustrian Super League. So there's no Old World Classic star player advantage. There's none of that stuff. So you can't take Griff in this team. But they've got some very cool new star players, which we'll cover a little bit later. And they've got some other great stars that they can take. So you still can take Zug. You still can take Carla. And you've got the new ones, Glottal Stop, Estelle Laveno, and Boa Constrictor as well. And go check out the star player spotlight videos for those, because we break down in full what they do, how much they are, and what models you can use if you don't want to use the Games Workshop ones. So really, when it comes to Amazons, everybody's got dodge. They're tier 1, which means if you're running them in a tournament, you're likely to get a little bit less skills. They can take an apothecary, and their rerolls have gone up a little bit. They're now 60k. The good thing is that the line women on this roster are pretty cheap, so you will always be able to afford most of what you want. Okay, so let's look at the roster itself and what they can take. So Amazons have got these silly little tag names that they've got with their players. I've gone with them because it's really important that you learn them, because they are very easy to get confused as well. So I figured I didn't originally have them in there, but I kind of thought, well, actually, it's important to know which of these tag names represents a single player. So you can take 0 to 16 Eagle Warrior line women. They're 50k a piece, and they have got nothing on them except dodge. Reasonable strength, reasonable speed, reasonable agility, just about wearing armor, but they do have that dodge skill. So when you need to be able to move around, you're going to have a better chance of doing so. But, and I cannot stress this enough, when you're playing Amazons, their dodge skill is their power. They are actually quite a combative roster, because that dodge skill is basically -1 to hit. That's the best way of thinking about it. They've also got 2 Python Warrior Throwers. So the dudes with the snakes on them looking like they're from an 80s metal video, they're your throwers. They're the ones that are going to be throwing the ball around. Now, they are not one of the best throwers in the game, but they are very cool. We've got passing 3+ on them. On the ball means they're pretty good. They've got a safe pass, which is there to represent the fact the snake is going to protect the ball. And they've got the pass ability. So they're 3++ passing. OTB makes them super fast on kickoff. At movement 6, it means when you're receiving the ball with a Python Warrior Thrower, that thrower is basically movement 9 for the first turn of the game. That almost makes up for that passing 3+ not being passing 2+. If they'd made it 2+, then the nobility coaches would have been enraged. So next up, we've got Piranha Warrior Blitzers, and we'll go through each of these players individually, but the Blitzers here, now they're movement 7, they've got jump up. They've got a special new skill as well, which we should probably cover in detail. They're movement 7, which is great. They've still got dodge, which is great. They've still got strength 3 and all that stuff, but they do not have block. So this is one of the Blitzers out there. I know that someone flagged up in one of my other videos and said that Slann Blitzers don't have block either, but that Slann Blitzers have not been through the Games Workshop grind yet. So Piranha Warrior Blitzers are the only Games Workshop Blitzer that doesn't have block. But they've got dodge, and they've got the hit and run ability, which means you can move a square as long as you're standing after making a block, which is a pretty awesome thing. It means you can block a dude and then basically step away as long as you end up in an unmarked square, as long as you don't end up marking anybody. So that actually can be sneaky. There are some really clever ways to brew up these Piranha Warrior Blitzers to have extra movement and then use that ability to basically get a one-turn touchdown. That is a stretch, and I cannot wait for people to see that and do that in Blood Bowl 3. Jaguar Warrior blockers round up the roster again. 2 Blitzers, 2 blockers. These blockers, they are contentious, divisive, and I think phenomenal. Movement 6 is fine. Agility 3 is fine. Armor 9+ is fine. No block, fine. They've got dodge. They've got defensive, which is the first time we've seen this skill basically on any player ever, I think, which turns off your opponent's guard in their turn. But they've got strength 4. So we've now got an Ag 3+, strength 4, movement 6 player that starts with dodge. And with the skill access on them, they are 2 touchdowns away from being mini Griffs. This is a really interesting roster now. It's definitely taking a massive step away from where Amazons used to be, but the core theme of lightly armored players with dodge and using that dodge as a combat skill is still there. It's just your blitzers have changed. 2 of them are really fast now, basically movement 7 and that +1 movement skill, and 2 of them are strength 4, movement 6 star players. Okay, first up, we're going to have to look at the core of the team, which is the Eagle Warrior Linewomen. These gals come in at movement 6, strength 3, Ag 3+, passing 4+, which is fine in a pinch, armor 8+, and they are 50k apiece with that all-important dodge skill. Now, I'm going to say dodge probably about a billion times in this video, so if you are doing any kind of take-a-shot competition, please contact your local hospital right now. So yeah, with passing 4+, they're fine. With Ag 3+, movement 6, they're really pretty useful. That armor being an 8+ does make them vulnerable, but the fact they've got dodge means that they are essentially 1 harder to hit. So even though they are not as tough as a human lineman, the fact that they've already got dodge, which on this player is going to be a secondary skill, is pretty awesome. And the reason that it is so awesome is, yes, I know you can re-roll when you move and all that kind of stuff, but realistically, this here, primary general skill, block. So they are 2 touchdowns away, or a touchdown and a random MVP away from being a movement 6, strength 3 blodge piece. Now, the fact they don't have agility on a single means that they can't do things like get blodge step, and you can't spam blodge step, although you kind of can if you save up, which is the beauty of Blood Bowl 2020. But the role of these line women is to give your star players, to give your positionals supports, but hey, they're still line women. You've got a choice most turns with these players of, do I take the 3+ with a reroll to back away and not get hit, or do I just stand up there and expect that dodge skill to work? That is entirely dependent on the situation, and obviously as a Skaven coach at heart, I'm all for leaving linemen in the way to get punched and die. But remember, it is always, not always, but it is always worth considering in Blood Bowl, do I want to roll the dice and risk failure, or do I want to make my opponent risk the dice and then take that chance at failing? So sometimes it's going to be better for you to leave an Eagle Warrior linewoman in a tackle zone to get hit, because that just increases the opportunity for your opponent to go skull and then burn a reroll, or skull and then burn a turn. So that is the role of line women. Now, when it comes to developing them in the league, the obvious thing to do is the one I've already called out, which is save up to 6 SPP, which isn't going to take long, and take block. Then you've got block and dodge, and then if you're going to be standing that player in tackle zones, they are going to be very, very difficult to take down. Okay, that is the obvious thing to do. Most line positionals, I will be probably the biggest proponent of take a random general as swiftly as you can, but actually I think with the Amazon team, that blodge combination is so good that actually it is probably worth waiting that extra few SPP to take blodge every single time. Don't get me wrong, kick is fantastic, but if you end up with a frenzy line woman instead of just waiting one more touchdown, for a blodge, you are going to regret it. It's going to be fun, don't worry. Like, if you want to have fun and roll randoms, go for it. But the differential here between waiting and taking a block lineman or waiting and taking a blodge lineman is massive, and it's got to be called out. However, a brilliant player, almost a positional, because you start with dodge. Okay, so the Python Warrior Thrower, you get 0 to 2 of them on your roster. They are 80k a piece. So I think the old Amazon Thrower was 75k, it had dodge and pass. This guy has dodge, pass, on the ball, and safe pass. So we'll call out safe pass first of all. Basically, if you fumble a throw, you don't fumble the throw. The activation just ends, and that is there to represent... You're not sure you understand, Siri? Okay. Well, basically, Siri, if you roll a 1 when you're throwing, you drop the ball. Normally, it bounces from your square.
I found this on the web.
Good job. But if you... I've been completely thrown off now by Siri. I can't imagine how much harder it is to play Blood Bowl with a snake on your shoulder, let alone Siri on your watch. So when it comes to this player, you've got that integral, like, I have a snake. Therefore, not only will it give me, obviously, useful quips, but that ability to just not fumble the ball. These guys are passing 3+. They're not monster passers. They've got that pass reroll, but it just means that if you fail that reroll on a 1, your snake keeps the ball safe. It stays on your player, and you do not fumble the ball, and realistically, you don't get a turnover. You don't ruin everything. So in that regard, it's a really useful little bump up. Ignore all of that, because they've got on the ball. So it's a really interesting one here. So they've gone up 5k. They're still movement 6. They're still strength 3, still edge 3+, still passing 3+, still armor 8+. 5k, they've got safe pass, which is absolutely going to save you sometimes. Sometimes that skill is going to come up so big, you're going to be like, no, that's not a turnover. That's fine. Okay, my guy's still got the ball, and I've still got the rest of my turn to move other people around to protect him. That is going to bail you out, and it's going to be magic. But on the ball is one of my favourite skills for passers. Now, normally that is a passer with sure hands and passing 2+, because it's the Skaven Thrower, who is the best thrower in the game. But this dude here with passing 3+ and movement 6 means that that's 9 squares of movement when you receive the ball. You don't have sure hands, you don't have edge 2+, you don't have that passing 2+, but what it is going to do is allow this player to grab the ball and then progress. And if you need to go for a speed play, you're being free rolled those 3 extra squares. And the difference is there that basically if you need to move the ball from your thrower on the kickoff to another player, it is the same as passing 2+, because you get to basically move those 3 extra squares that would be the difference in range between a quick pass and a short pass. So that's kind of my way of explaining why I love on the ball so much. Basically, you've got a thrower here that's got that 3++ if you need to move the ball. I think what's realistically going to happen with this thrower piece is there's going to be 2 schools of thought. Because of their strength and skill access, you've got general and passing on a normal and agility and strength on a secondary. You can go a thrower there's always the leader caddy, okay, which is where you put leader on a thrower and they're just a living reroll. That's fine. But there's kind of a thrower route. You've got passing access. You can go accurate. And then you've got a passing 2++ on the ball machine that's going to grab the ball and farm it off to your guys really quickly. That's brilliant. You've got Drew Brees on your team. That's awesome. Can win a Super Bowl with that. Or you go the runner route. And you turn this into a runner that's got a 3++ pass in a pinch. Movement 9 on the kickoff's great. So actually giving this person a block skill to become a blodger is going to be really good for defending them when they've got hold of the ball, or giving them sure hands is going to save you rerolls when you're picking up the ball. Block is good basically every turn of the game. Sure hands is good 2 to 4 turns of the game. Sure hands is going to help with that, making sure that you're okay in a pinch. Block is going to mean that it's only when your Python Warrior is in danger, but it is going to keep them alive. And if you turn this into a running player, which I think you will do when it comes to the Amazon team, throwing's great. I love passing, but they don't really have any brilliant passing targets. The Blitzers are not bad at movement 7 with that hit and run skill. They can be pretty fast, but no one's got edge 2+, no one's got movement 8+, and no one's got the catch skill integral. So the Python Warrior is going to be a short range dink and dunk Baker Mayfield kind of passer. And that's kind of fine, because the rest of the team is just going to be doing that slippery dodge, can't hit me, I'm going to move away. So I like this positional. 80k, they're quite expensive. They are not ubiquitous. You don't have block, you don't have sure hands, but they do have access to the skills you want. If you want to use them in a tournament to be that leader caddy to get that extra reroll, they're going to perform brilliantly. 30k more than a line woman, basically. You get passing access, you get OTB, safe pass, and a better passing ability. If you can afford the 30k, I think a Python Warrior Thrower is almost always going to be worth it. Next up, we've got the Piranha Warrior Blitzer, which is this player here. This player is built and looks like a blocker, but is not a blocker. It's the Blitzer. The blocker is the cat-like pose with all the armor. Okay, that's the difference. More armor is more strength, according to Games Workshop. But the Blitzer is a big, brawly, strength 3 fast machine. I had to double check that this is the right way round. This is, in fact, the Blitzer, not the blocker model. Okay, so this is why the pictures are up here. Pay attention to that. Movement 7 is a boon compared to the old Movement 6 Blitzer. I personally, the difference between 6 and 7 when it comes to movement is not a huge amount, except when you need a 2-turn touchdown. And this is something that Amazons did not have before. So this Blitzer moving to movement 7 means you've got 14 squares in 2 turns with no go for it. That is way more consistent, and that is sneaky good. Strength 3 is the same, Edge 3 plus is the same, passing 5 plus is the same, armor 8 plus is the same. The difference here is that they are 90k now with dodge, hit and run, jump up, and no block. So the old Amazon roster had 4 Blitzers with block and dodge. Now, this is a different team. This is a different roster, and the Blitzer is now a very different positional. They are faster with movement 7. Dodge is the same. Jump up is going to mean they are always faster. Being able to get straight up and still block if you want to. Getting straight up using that dodge 3++ ability to get up for 0 squares and get out and get to where you want to be. Or there's the hit and run skill. Now, the hit and run skill is a really interesting introduction to Blood Bowl. Succinctly, what it means is when this player makes a block action. Now, with the way the rules have been written, there's a little bit of turmoil as to whether it is a block as a block action or a block as a block action as part of a blitz action. We are going to assume that block action is part of a blitz action when you roll a blitz. Okay, so blitzing or blocking after this dude has rolled the dice, rolled the armor dice, rolled whatever, if they're still standing, they can move 1 square in any direction, ignoring tackle zones, as long as they're not marking an opposing player. Basically, they can move into an empty, unmarked square next door to them after making a block or a blitz. Now, there's been some great theory crafting out there with what if they have frenzy? I don't know how that's going to work. I'm assuming it's frenzy, make the block. If it's a push, follow up, have to block again because it's frenzy, have to follow up. And at that point, you get to move 1 square into an unmarked open square. That is how I'm going to assume that's going to roll. You don't have block. You do have edge and general on your primary skill here. So obviously the thing you want to do is take that block skill to become a blodger. There are a few things you can consider as well, which is wrestle. Because you've got that hit and run ability, it is almost like sidestep. It's not as good as sidestep, but this player can take sidestep. So you can basically build a blodge step Piranha Warrior Blitzer that is movement 7. Then you can make those blocks, jump into the open, use sidestep to get where you want to be, and then on your turn block and get into the open. It becomes a really fluid, almost liquid player on the pitch. I'm not going to lie, block is inevitably the best thing you can do for this player. But then you've got that agility access, and that's what I really think is exciting for this player. You can save up SPP and boost their movement all the way to 9. It's going to take you a long time, but what you can do is go block, then take sidestep, then take sprint or sure feet if you want to, because you're going to have that extra ability. They've got strength on a double, but I don't think this player is what you want to be. This player with their edge access is your catcher. They're called a blitzer, but actually blodge is great at movement 7 with their hit and run. They're going to be fast. You can take catch, and then if you want your Python thrower to be throwing, this becomes a really good target. So your blitzers are now essentially runners. That is probably the best way to describe it. No block, but once they do get block, it starts going real good. And then we come to it, the most exciting positional on this new roster is the Jaguar Warrior blocker. Now, the pose with the armor looks very similar to the human Blitzer, and that's kind of why that positional gets a bit confused. Jaguar, cat claws, cat pose, Catwoman pose, basically Wakanda forever, right? This is kind of how you're kind of picturing this together. It's got that Black Panther leaping thing, therefore Jaguar, therefore strong. Anyway, movement 6, strength 4, ag 3+, passing 5+, armor 9+. This player is a movement boosted Chaos Warrior, is an agility boosted Chaos Dwarf Bull Centaur or Ulf Warrior. It's fantastic. 110k makes them expensive, and you get up to 2 of them on their roster, and they come with dodge. This is a phenomenal player and is absolutely in the shortlist for one of the best positionals in the game. Dodge with 3++ is reasonable. Strength 4, movement 6 is reasonable, but good, okay? Saurus. This is a double movement boosted Saurus that starts with dodge. It is awesome. These are going to be your star players. These are going to perform the role of Blitzer in your roster, which is why the naming convention is a little bit confusing. That's what they're going to be doing. They are going to be running around because they can. They have got that agility. They can handle the ball. 3+, they've got a good pickup. They can catch on a good pickup. They can dodge out with dodge very well into the open, reposition, and then go and punch you with strength 2, which for the most time is going to be a 2-die block. Now, skills-wise, they've got dodge, which is amazing. They've got defensive. They've got no block, so no block on this roster at all. Defensive is a skill that turns off your opponent's guard pieces in your opponent's turn. So they are going to be aggravating. At strength 4, with an assist by them, your opponents are going to struggle to block them. Strength 3 teams with guard are going to struggle to get good blocks in on your blockers because that defensive switches off that guard piece. So as long as you've got people protecting the Jaguar Warrior, that Jaguar Warrior is always going to be strength 4. Your opponents are going to really struggle. Now, armor 9 is not invincible, and strength 4 can definitely be overcome, especially when your piece doesn't have block, but you've also got dodge. So not only is your opponent going to struggle to get assists while you're protected, they're also going to struggle with it. Basically, you are going to need a strength 4 or strength 5 tackle piece to effectively take out a Jaguar Warrior, unless they're in the open. So if you're running Amazons, this player does not want to be left on their own because they will get targeted. But at movement 6 with Ag 3+ and that dodge reroll, they are going to be able to be just as mobile as anything. So you've got those blitzers who are going to be catching the ball, potentially. They're going to be your fast breakout runners. They can strike where needed because of that hit and run. They're always going to be fluid. Then you've got the Jaguar Warrior blockers who are going to pounce. They are going to be in the place they want to be, and they are going to be feral and dangerous while they're there, but they've still got that reasonable 3++ dodge to get out and go and do it somewhere else. And then they get skills, because with movement 6 and Ag 3+, they're gonna be scoring touchdowns. And if you are running Amazons in a league, you've got to be scoring touchdowns with your Jaguar Warrior blockers. I would rather lose my first season of games but level up this player, because when this player gets switched on, the jump is phenomenal. Strength 4 dodge is great. Strength 4 blodge with Ag 3+ and movement 6 is filthy good, and this is where this roster gets really interesting. The dodge dudes are cool, the thrower's different, that's fun. The Blitzer piece is interesting with the hit and run skill, but this is your star player in the making. This is going to be up there with the War Dancer as the most hated player in Blood Bowl. The good thing is, at movement 6, they're not super fast. It is fair. You will have to stack up people and force your opponents to blitz through or take dodges, but they are going to be phenomenal. General and strength access combos beautifully on this piece. Obviously, you're thinking, I've got defensive, therefore I want to take guard, but block should definitely be the best position, the first skill you take on this positional, because when you get to movement 6, strength 4, Ag 3+ blodge, you are kind of junior Griffetters, and that is where it starts to get so difficult to bring down this player, and it gives you all the options running this player. And then you've got strength access, and that's where the rest of your roster and how you play comes into effect. If you've built your blitzers as combat pieces, as in you've gone block with them, you may want to build your blockers as actual blockers. Guard is going to combo brilliantly with defensive, being that you turn off their guard in their turn, your guard is always on, therefore this player basically just gives +1 strength to everyone around them all of the time, forever, always, which is going to keep your supporting line women alive, it's going to keep your blitzers alive. So you can get them to the guard point and just chuck them in the mix, and it's going to really be challenging for your opponent. Or they go kind of, you turn these into your blitzers, you take block, they've got blodge, then you give them mighty blow, and you can start targeting really effectively 2-die blocks with that mighty blow. So, and that's it, that's the start, right? There are tons of other skills you can give any of these players. This with tackle as a secondary skill is going to be an outrageous defender, a really effective defender. There's a ton of great things you can do with them, and you can save up and take sidestep as well, which would not be the worst thing in the world. In fact, once you've got blocks, saving up and taking a stat up, again, not going to be the worst thing in the world. There is basically nothing you can do with this player that is not going to be worth doing. They've got dodge. Block is great. 2-die wrestle's interesting. Wouldn't do it. I'd still go for block. But guard, mighty blow, break tackle to give them a 2+ dodge once per turn is also really cool because they've got that dodge skill. Even frenzy is going to be a really fun one to do. So these positionals, there's only 2 of them, which is great for the rest of Blood Bowl because the 2 that are on the pitch are going to be so dangerous. Now, talking of things that are dangerous, this team has got the Lustrian Super League tag, which means if you're running them in league or in tournaments, they have got a reasonably limited pool of star players. Now, you know, we've got those 2 blockers who are going to be star players all of themselves, but when it comes to a tournament or a league situation, from an inducement point of view, they can still take Morg, they can take Helmet 140 to chainsaw dudes up, they can take Gracken Crumbleberry at 250 to get you a bit of sure hands and a big guy access there, and of course they can take Acorn. Now, if you do brew up those blockers to have a cheeky bit of guard, then Acorn with his frenzy claws can do some serious work, but probably not the best pick. From a vanilla star player point of view, Gracken Crumbleberry is an interesting one because it gives you that sure hand stunty and a big guy blocker. So if you're 250k down and you need some muscle, that's not a bad angle to take. Helmer Wolf is going to give you that chainsaw element too. Likelihood is you're going to be powering some guys down eventually, so a chainsaw can always put the fear of Nuffle into anybody. But the Lustrian Super League tag has been significantly expanded recently. They can take Zug, who is a phenomenal and cheap big guy. He's just a big dude who looks an awful lot like Vin Diesel, but actually he's brilliant. Movement 4, Strength 5, Edge 4+, Block, Loner, Mighty Blow for 220k. Once per game he basically gets a Mighty Blow +2 essentially. 220k gives you that big guy, and that's really something that can be effective on this team. You are fragile, you don't have a ton of strength, you've got a few positionals that are dangerous as heck, and the rest of the roster can tend to fall apart, so having a big guy there to chuck in some muscle is not going to be bad for you. Carla Von Kill is an absolute staple in Blood Bowl for the reason that she's a bargain at 210k, but has that strength 4 piece. I think Carla Von Kill with block, dauntless, dodge, jump up, and loan of 4+ is kind of like the archetype for Amazons. So Carla Von Kill there, 210k. It gives you another strength piece, not as strong as Zug, but definitely can do that. Zolcath the Zote is your big guy choice for this team if you don't want to go the block route of Zug. This guy comes in 230. Disturbing Presence, Juggernaut, Mighty Blow, Prehensile Tail, Regeneration, Sure Feet. He's okay, not my biggest pick. The White Dwarf can combo really interestingly, but then you've got the 3 new star players. I do recommend you go and watch our star player spotlight videos for them if you've not seen them. Boa Constrictor is a strength 3 snake dude with Hypno Gaze, sidestep, and a very cool special power. Estelle Lavenot is a guard piece, a guard Amazon lineman. with a very cool special power, and she's 200k, I think, or 190, and Boa's 200. And then Glottal Stop is an absolute tank. Strength 6, Frenzy, Mighty Blow, Croxagore. 270k makes him a little bit on the expensive end, but if you want to just go full, basically Jurassic Park, Glottal Stop is going to give you that option at least. Amazon team guide is over. We've talked through the positionals, we've talked through some skills that might be good, we've talked through what they do, what they're good at, what they're bad at, what they look like, what the names mean, and what kind of accessories you can take. For now, I think I'm going to wrap up, but do let me know what you think of Amazons. We're going to have team rosters for League, for tournaments, for sevens, all coming soon, and a dream teams will follow in the next kind of month once we've got to grips with how the Amazon team plays on the pitch. So, super excited, brand new team, brand new tactics to be used, and some star players to absolutely be brewed up. Let me know what you think, and we'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy dodging. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.